when you see all of the exposure that's going on in Hollywood, in just pretty much everything that we're seeing right now, to me, it seems like there is a removal taking place. Like everything that had been established to make things be how it's been all this time, it's like God is like going through all these different avenues and he's bringing about a removal or a dethroning, if you will. Like it seems like something is really going on that plays a huge factor in a lot of these people that have kind of propped themselves up, or who were placed in these positions to be idols, to be gods, if you will. It's like they're being dismantled. And I have, like I said, over the years, I have had dreams about Beyonce. They all seem to be pretty dark. But this one right here, even though it seemed subtle on the surface, I do feel that there was a message being relayed, because it just seems to me like even when you look at what's going on right now, in a lot of ways, Jay-Z is kind of involved, but yet we're not hearing anything with that situation right now. But if that situation plays out to where he's removed, then that means Beyonce kind of stands alone. And the way I'm seeing how a lot of people are just telling on each other, everybody's exposing everybody now. It's almost like people are now wanting to talk, and they're revealing certain things that has been kind of kept quiet for so long. And it's like, okay, with all this stuff being talked about now, people are coming out and saying certain things. It's like people are really kind of looking out for themselves. And what used to be a tight unit where everybody was protecting each other and keeping their secrets hush hush and working together to make sure that this illusion that was kind of presented to the world, where people kind of saw them as being like just these idols that people worshiped and wanted to be like, all of that is falling apart now. And now we're able to see behind the curtain, and now we're really seeing what's really going on and what's been going on. And it's like everybody is kind of like, trying to figure out how they can, protect themselves now. So that's why you hear a lot of people, sharing information and revealing, stuff that they've been knowing or things they've experienced. Like that's why we're seeing all this now. But I also feel too, the reason why we're seeing all this now is, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I've been just feeling very strongly like there's like a reset that's happening. And that's the word that I keep hearing in my spirit, a reset. And, I was telling her, it's like, in order for, if you're looking at it from the standpoint of technology, everything is crashing, things ain't working no more. But when you hit the reset, it takes it back to the original state, to where everything was working properly. Everything was functioning correctly. You're bypassing and you're correcting the issues that kind of came into the mix that created everything to kind of, just go haywire. I feel from a spiritual standpoint, that's what's happening right now. There's a reset that's taking place. And in order for a reset to take place, there has to be exposure, because I've said this before. How can anyone know that things were bad if it wasn't revealed to us that it was bad? If you continue thinking that things were actually going a certain way, and it was normal, you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even suspect that anything needed to change. But if God starts actually exposing what's really been going on and exposing all these things that people thought was normal and was actually going the right way, you know, in order for him to really like make that clear to us, he has to bring about exposure. He has to like open our eyes and see, no, you know, this over here, this was actually wrong. You need to understand why this was wrong. You know, certain people that you were praising as being like, you know, these awesome people, no, you need to really understand these are not the type of people you need to be following. These are not the type of people you need to be listening to. You know, so we're seeing like in so many ways, God has really been bringing about a revealing, if you will, because he had to help us understand that what he's bringing to the forefront, it is so much better than what people thought they were already experiencing. When I told y'all that, you know, God was speaking to me about, you know, governance, when he shared that dream with me a few years ago about governance, there is a reason why he spoke that. It's because in order for him to bring about what has been purposed at this time to take place, in order for him to bring about that, there has to be a turnaround, if you will, to where what we're seeing right now, it is a bad governance. There is a lack of governance, to be honest. But in order for him to bring about a good governance, a lot of things had to be removed and restored to get to that point. So when I started seeing, you know, Joe Biden being removed, then I was seeing, you know, him speaking to me about America and what he was going to do when it came to this nation. All of this kind of fell in sync with what he was initially saying regarding governance. I know it's hard for a lot of people to believe that it is possible that what we have been witnessing and experiencing in this nation, that it is impossible for things to go in a different way or to become better, for a lack of words. I know it is hard for people to believe that. I get it. But at the same time, I believe with everything in me, what God has been saying to me, how he's been showing it to me, the way he keeps reiterating it to me. Like, I haven't shared just everything because a lot of times I try not to come on here and just be redundant, you know, with y'all. But it's like God just keeps reiterating to me what he keeps saying he's going to be doing, what he's doing and what he's going to do. And I think it's hard for people to really wrap their minds around it because they're so caught up in just all the negative, dark stuff that is being thrown in our face every single day. Like, when you look at the scripture, when it says that, you know, Satan will try to wear out the saints, like, I don't think we've really seen it to that magnitude where that scripture is being fulfilled now, but you can definitely understand it more in the sense of when it comes to like testing your faith, testing, you know, your ability to really stand on whatever it is you're believing God is doing. Like, it's hard and it can drain you. It can wear you down, you know, because even when you are trying to believe in something, but you got all these different voices that are saying, no, that's not what it is. No, this is not what God is doing. Or when God is showing you a thing and God is telling you a thing, and you got other people saying, well, God told me this. God said this to me. And I'm like, you know, you're put in a situation where it's like either you're going to denounce what you believe and go with the majority, or are you going to stand firm in what you know to be true? And that within itself can be so challenging, and it can wear you down because it's so much of a fight that you're spiritually having to go through, from a spiritual standpoint, from a mental standpoint. Like, it's not easy, but that is the intentions, that the enemy has when it comes to, doing the stuff that he's doing. Like, he is trying so hard to beat the saints down because he don't want you to believe in what God is saying to you. He don't want you to believe in, God saying something different versus what he's trying to convince everybody else to believe. When you look at the stuff that we're seeing in our government, you look at how these charges were brought against Trump. Now, I don't care if you love Trump or not. You should still be able to see when something is not fair, when something is not being done honestly, when something is not just. You should be able to clearly decipher that this is not legal, this is not right. And so for us to see that not only were there, 34 charges that were brought against him, they were literally trying to sentence this man to prison. And this would be his first time. So if you are a first time offender, from a legal standpoint, you don't get prison. You don't get time in jail. But it's like, even the charges that were being brought against him, you could see that on so many levels, they're trying to make it difficult for this man to run for president. And so you have to ask yourself the question, why are they fighting so hard to, keep this man from becoming president? So there is a lot of things that's being done in our government that is unjust. There is no transparency. There are a lot of lies and deceptions that's going on. You can't really trust the media. It's all corrupt. And we're being, constantly, faced with these truths on a daily basis. And if you're not mentally or spiritually strong enough to understand what this is, it can easily wear you down. It can wear you down. I just feel like for God to put me in this position to speak different, to share with y'all, what God is saying to me, what God is showing me, what God is wanting me to say to y'all. It's something that I don't take lightly, but at the same time, I know that I have to stand strong in that, because I know he's showing me these things for a reason. My thing is, you never know why God brings certain people to you. To me, it's a blessing when, God will send a person your way. And it's because he knows who you are. He knows that you have his heart. And he knows that there are certain things that you may need at that time to strengthen you. Like, it could just be God brought us together just so I can help y'all, stay strong in your faith. It's like when we look back at how it was during COVID, when everything was shut down, nobody could really go anywhere. That was a different space that we've never been in before. And I knew that was weighing heavy on a lot of people's faith. That was a hard place to be in, because it was easy for the enemy to make you fear and make you question certain things, because that's what the enemy does. He loves to isolate, because if he can isolate you, then he can really, get your full attention and really start, feeding your mind and your spirit things that will go against your faith in God and the things that you've believed God for, you know? And so I just feel like this is just another one of those times where no matter how many times it seems like I'm having to keep reiterating the same thing, I feel like I have to, because it's like we have to stay strong. We have to stay focused on what's really at play here. I don't care what we're seeing. Things can change in a moment. Even when you look at Elijah was praying for rain. And every time they would go out, it was like, didn't see it coming yet. But it was an understanding, it was a knowing that the rain was going to come. See, when God is speaking a thing, he knows what he says is going to happen because he spoke it. So you can trust what God is speaking. It's the fact that we have to not only believe, but we have to be patient in waiting for the manifestation of it. So me saying to y'all, God is saying that, he's going to turn things around. God is saying that he is bringing restoration to this nation. God is saying that he's bringing governance. God is saying that Joe Biden is going to be removed. All these different things that God has been having me to say to y'all. You don't see the manifestation right now, but that doesn't make it not true. It just means that you have to continue to believe and you have to continue to be patient and wait for the manifestation. It's the same thing with every prophet in the Bible who spoke a thing before it happened. And sometimes it took years. I'm not saying that's the case with this situation, because clearly, there's so much that I'm seeing that's adding to my faith and knowing, okay, God, I see you. I see what you're doing. So for me, I feel nothing but confidence, and like I tell y'all, I feel a lot now. To me, it's like, how do I not believe when God has personally showed up time and time and time again, bringing forth the very thing that he showed me he was going to do before it happened? How could I doubt this now? When I tell y'all he has consistently showed up, like even recently, like God be showing me things in my personal life. And he always be showing up, like letting me know, like, you got to trust what I'm showing you. You got to believe that what I'm showing you, it's me showing you this. So I can't make anybody believe anything. All I can do is share what God is sharing with me. And I hope y'all receive it, because at the end of the day, God knows who belong to him. He knows who are really in love with him, who are, completely sold out to him. He knows who are real and who are not. He knows what you're needing. He knows what you're lacking. He knows what you need more strength in. He knows your prayers. He knows what you're believing for. Like, everything about us, God knows. And so you can't find it strange if God is bringing you around a certain group of people for a certain period of time. Because I just feel like when you look at just the life that we are living on a daily basis, yes, we're having a real experience for ourselves. Like, everything we go through every day, that is a real experience. But at the end of the day, it's like God already knew. He already knew what those days were going to look like. He already knew those challenges you were going to run up against. And because he already foresees it, he already has certain people put in place to be there to help you through it. See, the thing is, because we are in the last days, things are becoming more harder. And it's becoming to the point where you're really having to have more discernment than you've ever had before. You're really having to tap into a level of faith that you've really never had to tap into before. You know, even when I look at, I think I was talking to a friend of mine about this too. You know, for a while now, I've shared some dreams with y'all, but for a while now, I have been having a lot of dreams where I'm literally having to have a sense of discernment to understand if these are real humans or they're not humans at all. Now, a person with no discernment or no spiritual understanding will immediately gravitate to the thought of, oh, well, that was just a crazy dream. You know, that means nothing. But if you really understand that this world that we live in, it's not all that you think it is. Like, there is a lot of activity that is taking place, but you only see a glimpse of it, because whatever your spiritual discernment level is, whatever your spiritual eyesight level is, you're not going to be able to tap in to understand like the many layers that are really intertwining in this place that we call Earth. There are different dimensions that are at play, and there are different entities that are at play. And everything is not natural. Everything is not natural. Everything you see is not natural. And so it's not just solely when you go to sleep at night and you dream. That is not the only time you're entering into a spiritual dimension. You're just more aware of the spiritual dimension when you are asleep. But you're interacting with the spiritual dimension even when you are awake and you're existing in this life. And there's a reason why God keeps pointing these things out to me in my dreams, because he's making me consciously aware that this is the reality that I need to understand. It may not be something that y'all have to understand, but because of who God called me to be, I have to spiritually be aware of this. I'm trying not to go too deep because I'm not trying to make y'all look at me crazy. But I just feel overall, y'all, there oh my gosh, there's so much. Like, I be wanting to just say everything, but y'all, it's a lot. Like, I feel at times I have to kind of like censor my own self, because unfortunately you can't just share everything with everybody, for the simple fact, you know, everybody's not always ready to receive, you know, certain things. And, you know, that's okay. I do know that a lot of the stuff that we're seeing right now, it is literally a race to trying to stop what God is doing. There's a lot of, oh my gosh, there's so much deception. Like, and sometimes I don't even like using the word deception, because it's deeper than that. Like, when I tell you the enemy really is pulling a fast one on a lot of people, it saddens me, because it just really goes to show, why God stressed the fact that, discernment is so necessary. Like, for him to say, if it was possible, even the very elect would be deceived, that tells you everything you need to know. Like, there is so much deception. Like, you literally can be watching the screen and thinking you're looking at a whole human being, but it's AI. You know what I'm saying? It's technology. It's something else embodying in that what you think is skin and flesh and blood. Like, it goes deep. It goes deep. There's a lot of deception. And I feel like this is why, to a certain degree, God allows us to see, only see so much, because the average person could not fathom, could not really take in what it really looks like when the whole veil is removed from our eyes. Like, we would not be able to take it. Like, I'm just being honest, we wouldn't. God has a way of shielding us and protecting us from that. And I just, I really believe that with everything that we're seeing, all the stuff that's being exposed in Hollywood, all the darkness, all of the satanic rituals that have been taking place, like all this demonic activity, to the average normal person, it is insane to take that in, because it's so dark. It's so dark. But when you are operating in that world, meaning when you pretty much are living that type of life, that's normal. That is actually their normal. And we look at all these different people that we have looked up to, all these celebrities, all these actors, all these media figures, all these athletes, like all of these people that we have followed over the years, we have watched, over the years, we're seeing who they really are and seeing what they really were about. And it's hard to wrap our minds around, because we were shielded from that world. We were protected from participating or being a part of that world. But imagine all of the people where that was their normal. That was what they knew. Like, it's crazy to even think about that. So that within itself goes to show that we have been really just living this existence where we have not fully experienced like what this real world looks like, because those people who have been, choosing to live that life, to participate in that life. And then when you look at the victims who were subjected to being introduced to that life, imagine how that speaks volumes to the fact that we're all on this same planet, but we're having two different life experiences. One being far extreme, dark and evil. The other being the opposite, where we enjoying laughter, we enjoying peace, blessings. We're being able to have jobs where, being able to take care of our children, we're being able to celebrate life. But these people on the opposite end of the spectrum, all they're experiencing is darkness and evil and pain. There's a lot that goes on that we don't see. There's a lot of evil that exists on a daily basis, not just from a natural standpoint, but from a spiritual standpoint that exists. But just because we don't see it don't mean that it's not happening. There is so much that God is sparing us from and has spared us from. Even when you look at this nation is literally on the verge of collapse. And God could literally let that happen. If it was in his will for it to happen, he could definitely let it happen. But I just honestly believe, just because of what he's been saying to me and how he's been encouraging me to pray and showing me what he's doing in the spirit realm when it comes to America, like, he still has grace over this nation. So I really don't care what anybody else is saying about how America is about to be destroyed. Like, that's not what my Father is saying. That's not what my God is saying. He's saying the total opposite. And I really believe very, very soon, we're going to see the manifestation of Joe Biden being removed. Very, very soon, we're going to see what it's going to look like, where God is going to bring about restoration to this nation. I don't know how it's going to come about. I just know that's what he said. And for me to see in the spirit realm, God literally destroying every person that was set up to bring about this destruction and chaos. For me to see in the spiritual realm, God was destroying every last one of them and inciting peace behind it, lets me know that there's coming a time very soon where God is going to bring about that peace, where everything that was chaotic and dark, he's going to bring his light, his glory back into it. I look at a lot of these celebrity figures who were once godlike, and they have been brought down low. A lot of them have been brought down low. Like, God is not playing. I don't care if you are an artist, like a singing artist. I don't care if you are an actor. I don't care if you are a media figure. I don't care if you are a pastor. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, in however of a capacity that you have been raised up to a godlike status, whether you raised yourself or you was working behind a machine that raised you up to that position, God is bringing these people down. He's bringing them down. So I believe what I was seeing when it comes to Beyonce, I just feel her time is coming. And I can't stress enough, like, the fact that the worker bees, when they no longer see value in their queen bee, they literally will attack the queen bee and destroy her until she is no longer alive. I just feel that when you look at a lot of these people who have had these very prominent statuses and have had these statuses for a very long time, you got to ask yourself the question, what were they willing to do to stay in that position? How far were they willing to go to remain in that position? Because the way this system has been set up for years, I'm talking about years, like years. This has been going on for a long time. 70s, 60s. This has been a system that has been at play, and it just got worse over the decades. But this system has been at play for a very long time. So you got to know that in order for those individuals to have the careers, to have the statuses that they had, you got to ask yourself the question, what did they do to not only get there, but to remain there? It's more to just, 2024 is the year of exposure. Yeah, we see a lot of exposure. But go beyond that. Why did God choose for this year to be the year? Why? It's because it was time. It's time to bring in the new. When you look at a lot of these people who have been put in these godlike positions, you got to also look at these people who were placed in these positions of being gatekeepers. They all work hand in hand. It's all bondage. It was another form of slavery. When you look at it from the standpoint of when you look in Exodus and you look at how the children of Israel, they're crying out day after day, year after year, crying out to the Lord, save them, help them. You see the bondage they were in. You saw the treatment that they were under. They wasn't free. They wasn't able to enjoy life. They endured pain every single day, being held in captivity, made slaves, forced to work hard labor, living in poorish conditions, day in and day out, and they're crying out to God for help. It's the same thing, y'all. It's the same thing. You look at how they are taxing us crazy. That's, living under a slave, that's slavery within itself, because you busting your behind trying to, stay afloat. You working hard, you putting in all these hours, all just so you can see your check come in, and they done took pretty much a third of your check, if not more. Well, I won't even say a third. It's a lot. They take a lot of your check, your money from your check. It's like you're working for nothing. And then you got to get 2 jobs, sometimes 3, just to make ends meet. You look at just the economy being what it is. Everybody's struggling. Everything is jacked up. All the prices, everything going up. It's hard for you to even make a grocery list anymore. You literally having to put more thought into what you're going to prepare for your meals every day, and make sure that the money is adding up so you can buy those items, so you can make those meals for the whole week. You relying on coupons, you trying to find every which way you can save some money. It's life out here. Gas is high. And don't let nothing happen to your car, because they really going to try to take advantage and jack the prices up just for you to get your car fixed. This is slavery. We're being abused out here. And it's people are crying out, Lord, where are you? Help us. Look at the person, or, the person that is over us. In their time, they had the Pharaoh. In our time, we got our president. Enforcing all this hard labor, enforcing all this unjust treatment. Everything they're doing from the White House has nothing to do with the betterment of the citizens of this nation. It's all about making things worse for us. Why? Because they hate this nation. They want to see this nation fall. That's their goal. If you remove America, then you can really usher in the one world government. America is standing in the way. And it's not just America, it's our Constitution that's standing in the way. Everything's corrupt. Our government is corrupt. Congress is corrupt. You can't even trust the House of the Republicans. You can't even trust them because the majority of them are corrupt. Some of them are Republicans in name only. They're not fighting for our rights. They're not conservative at heart. Our court systems are corrupt. Now let me start talking about the federal banks. I mean, it's like I can go on and on and on. Like, we are not living under a just governance system. So when God showed me the youth coming in and interrupting Obama, and they brought forth unity to the point where everybody in the crowd were cheering them on. And that is when I heard governance spoken in my ear. It's the youth God is using. It's the youth that God will use to bring about this governance. And I'm not talking about 5-year-olds. I'm not saying we got to wait until they turn 18. No, I'm talking about this younger generation. Those who are entering college or are out of college. Like, God is using these young men and women. Me having dreams of seeing God holding Satan back. Why would he show me that? Do you really think that if the whole idea of where we are right now was only just to get worse, what would have been the point in lifting the mandates when we were all on lockdown mode? It just would have continued to get worse and worse and worse at that point. But no, God stopped that. So what makes us think God is not going to stop this? Satan is going to always, he's always going to show up in a way where he's going to fight against what God is doing. Like, that's what he's been doing since he rejected God, since he rebelled. Like, there is no softening, his approach on that matter. No, he goes full force in how he tries his hardest to fight against what God is doing. So we shouldn't be so surprised that if God is literally undoing everything that Satan has set up, like he's literally destroying everything that Satan established. Can y'all even begin to imagine how many people that are CEOs, that are prominent figures that we have seen our whole life go across that television screen. Can you imagine how many people behind closed doors have been a part of this sexual trafficking of children? And I'm not just talking about men, I'm talking about men and women. It's hard to wrap your mind around that because that is so unhumane. Like, that is so, it's not human. But yet there are many. There are so many. And for God to show me a dream a few years ago where I'm literally seeing children crawling through the mud. And I see dismembered body parts in these muddy waters that they had to crawl through. I thought that was the worst thing that I could ever see with my own eyes. And then to be taken into another dream where I'm seeing children, even babies with diapers on, being used as prostitutes. And it was being made known to me that they all had HIV. Can you imagine what was going through my mind as I'm seeing this? But I'm literally waking up and I'm trying to consciously process, what in the world did I just see and why did I see that? Only to have to come to terms with the fact that God was showing me what he sees. This is what he sees on a daily. See, when you are dreaming, when God is showing you a thing, whether you're in a dream or a vision, you're looking through God's eyes. You're seeing what God sees. The fact that God sees this on a daily and yet he still has grace over this nation. This has been going on for a very long time, y'all. A very long time. And when you look at it just from that standpoint, you got to understand why exposure has to happen. Why these people are being exposed now. Because God is literally having to clean up a whole lot of filth that has been going on in this nation for a very long time. And it runs far and wide and deep. And there are a lot of powerful people that they've been participating in this. It's very satanic. It's very demonic. So when you look at all this evil that has been just existing for all this time, there's a process. There's a process in getting this mess removed. It's a process in unearthing all of this stuff that has been going on. Because God has showed me so much. He shows me so much. A lot of times it's hard for me to process. I don't always understand what I'm seeing. But I know he shows it to me because he can trust me. But it's hard. A lot of times it's hard. Like even me sharing these things that I'm saying right now, I hope it's not hard for y'all to hear. And I don't mean to put y'all in an uncomfortable space, but I'm just having a very raw conversation with y'all. It's like even now, I don't know if y'all can hear, but I hear the birds chirping right now. To me, that is just a clear reminder that God is present. When you're able to encounter beauty and witness the beauty of God's creation, just simply listening to the birds chirp, that puts me at peace because I know God is still here. But I stand very firm and very strong on what God has been showing me when it comes to what he plans to do with this nation. I really try my hardest not to like when it comes to how God uses me, I try my hardest to always remain humble. Like, that's important to me because really having a fear of God in your heart, I feel that is something that we should always have because it keeps you in a space where you don't make the mistake in overstepping your boundaries. You know what I mean? Like, I really try my hardest to be mindful of just certain things because I don't want to go about things the wrong way. I don't want to make the mistake in taking away from the glory that God is supposed to receive and trying to pass it on for myself. Like, that scares me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see a lot of people, they get to a certain space and it's like they forget about God. They start to become very, very prideful, and they really begin to lose sight of who really should be getting that, glory and that recognition. Because, even when people compliment me, I always be like, it's God or praise God, because I don't ever want to feel like I'm taking all the credit, because I know it's God that allows me, to be the person that I am and to, have wisdom or have, the insight that I have, or even when it comes to dreams. Like, I don't ever want to feel like I'm looking down on people or I feel like I'm better than the next person. Like, I don't want to do that. But I have to say this because it is so important that we can really decipher you have people that operate from a space of prophecy, but they're not really getting their information from the right source. There's a reason why in the Bible it speaks about how we should not seek after mediums or seek after soothsayers, or like really all these categories of people that delve into a form of witchcraft and they're getting their information from familiar spirits. Like, we have to understand that that's real. Like, we really have to understand that's a real thing. And I feel like there are people who present themselves as being prophets when in reality, they're not getting their information from the source that is of God, the father of Isaac, Jacob, and Abraham. Like, they're not getting that information from that source, and we have to understand that there is a such thing as familiar spirits. The Bible speaks about these familiar spirits. When you look at these shows, and I think I've spoken briefly on this, but I'll just kind of reiterate a little bit. But when you look at these shows, I think there's a show called Medium, and they will have people come in asking this person questions about loved ones that have passed on. And this person is able to share certain information with them that only that loved one would be able to know. I think they call it channeling the spirit of that person. That is a real thing. The way it works is these spirits have been roaming this earth for a very long time. So when we look at generational spirits, that's what that is. They are spirits that have been with your family for generations. There are spirits that are literally over your bloodline. They know who your father's father's father was. They knew everything about your family. They knew the battles. They knew their addictions. They knew their struggles. They knew their children and their children's children. Like, these are those spirits. They're familiar spirits because they're familiar with you. They know who you are. They know who your family was. They know more about your family than you do. Okay? So it's not hard to understand that these psychics or these people who operate from a witchcraft spirit, it's not hard to believe that some of the information they may reveal to you is true. But we have to be careful in making sure that we can discern who these people are, what spirit are they operating from, and where are they getting their information. There are some people who are operating from this false spirit, and they're sharing certain things, acting as if they're getting this information from God, Yahweh. And if the Bible says, let me spin it back here. If the Bible says that in the last days, many false prophets will arise and they will deceive many. Many false prophets will come out the woodwork in the last days and they will deceive many. We have to be careful in making sure that we're not just blindly listening and following after a voice that says they're a prophet. And just because they're given a prophecy or a prophetic word, you can't let your guard down just because they're coming in sheep's clothing, speaking your language. That does not mean that they look like you. That does not mean that they're representing the same spirit as you. It just means that they know how to come to you and they know how to get you to trust them and to let your wall down. Again, the enemy comes in like an angel of light to deceive. So I just want y'all to be careful with that, because psychics, people who dive into witchcraft, who are consulting the dead, they are able to tap into the spiritual realm as well, but they're getting their information from demons. So I just wanted to say that. Hi, Christine. I think I said hello to you. You said we need to pray for all lost souls, especially now. Time is short. Amen. Hey, Connie. God bless you. Bandit said, never in the history of America has so many lawsuits been brought against one man in such a short period of time. It is as if they are trying to give him a heart attack, and I don't even like him. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter if you like Trump, if you support Trump, if you're voting for Trump or not. Like, you got to be able to see something is not right with this. And something clearly is not right with this. Clearly. Um, hey Angela. Yeah, you just keep standing firm, Angela. A lot of times it seems like you're doing things alone and it seems like God is silent, but you got to just keep standing firm and trusting that God knows you. He knows where you are. And you gotta trust the relationship that you're building with God. That's so important. Trust your own relationship because it matters. What you're doing is not insignificant to God. You know, He sees all of it. And you have to trust in that. Okay. Don't beat yourself down on it. You know, there's going to be times where we all feel like we're not doing enough, or we may feel like we've slacked here or slacked there. But you got to trust in the relationship that you have with God, because God is not the type of parent where He's just waiting for you to make a mistake. That's not how our God is. He's the best father that any person could ever have. You know, He's a loving father. He is a forgiving father. He is an understanding father. He's patient. He's kind. He's gentle. You know what I'm saying? That is who our God is. And when you can know who our God is and you can really understand that that's the type of father He is, that within itself will give you peace. Okay? But you got to see God correctly. You got to see Him correctly. Let's see. Yes, the word is removal, a great removal. Yeah, God is definitely doing something for sure. Hey, John 3:16. Um, the Lord is showing me a lot too about that. They use and abuse each other all the time. God bless you, Andrea. Is there a human being in the White House? Girl, I'm going to say this. The way the dream showed it to me, when I told y'all I had that dream where I saw Joe Biden being removed, when I saw him sitting in that driver's seat, he looked like a lifeless mannequin. There was no expression, no movements. He was just frozen, looking straight ahead. He looked like a mannequin. It didn't look like there was a human being sitting in that passenger seat. So you can take it as you will. I don't know. It's just seeing that in the dream, it was very cringy. Very cringy. God bless you, Gospel Outside. I haven't seen you in a while. Pray over and lay hands on your children. A witch was saying how she prays curses over the children in her class. She is a school teacher and how she always knows which children are Christians. Oh my gosh. Bandit Kitty, can you if that was a video, wherever you saw that, could you email that to me? Because I would love to see that. My email address is kingdomjournals@yahoo.com. My email address is in my I think it's in my description. I know it's in my about section on my channel, but can you please email that to me? Because I would love to see that. Oh my gosh. Today, the U.S. contract for the petrodollar has ended, so we will see how it goes. There's a 30% increase of homeless people in the UK, families with kids. Wow, Connie. Yeah, I mean, everything that they're doing, they're doing it everywhere. It's not just here in our nation, it's everywhere. People can't afford to pay their bills anymore and the prices are still climbing up. Wow. That's so sad. But yeah, I just want y'all to thank you, Shani. It's familiar spirits, demons. Some people say it's not, some people say it is. Yes, they're demons. Familiar spirits are demons. Yes, ma'am. And I don't know if it's just because we're getting older, but it seems like time is going extremely rapid. Like, is it just me? But like, I don't know. I don't know if this is naturally how it feels as you get older. It's like the time just goes by. But to me, it feels like time is going strangely fast. Like, to the point where it's becoming more bizarre to me why it's going so fast. That's been something that I've really been trying to figure out, because I'm like, okay, Lord, are you speeding up the time to help us get through all this craziness that we're having to live through right now? Because that's what I've been feeling. Yeah, y'all feel it too? Yeah, it's crazy. Like, me and my husband be talking about this all the time. Like, this time is going by too fast. Like, this is becoming very weird. And I'm telling you, that's what I've really been feeling like God is intentionally speeding up time to like help us get through this quickly. You know what I'm saying? Where do you think we are in end times? I mean, that's a good question. It's kind of hard to like just literally pinpoint, but I always say that I feel we are close to the end of the church age, but we're not quite there yet. Because there are certain things that I know has to happen before that time comes. And that's why I speak about the end time harvest, because the Bible speaks about how the latter rain will be greater than the former rain. That's a prophecy from the book of Joel. And I think it's repeated again in, I want to say Hosea, but I may be wrong, but I know it's in Joel. But the latter rain is basically speaking of revival. So when it says the latter rain will be greater than the former rain is when the church began in the book of Acts, when they saw tongues of fire come in the room, in the upper room, and all the disciples received the Holy Spirit and began speaking in tongues. And they were commissioned to go into the four corners of the earth, preaching the gospel and spreading the good news. That was when the church began. And so that was considered the former rain. The latter rain has not happened yet. The latter rain is an end time harvest that's going to come, not just from the United States, but from the world. And that is when it's going to be a huge revival. People are going to be able to receive, the Holy Spirit. And I believe when that happens, we should definitely be looking up, like for real. Because I believe that's why God has grace over this nation right now. It's because that end time harvest has not been fulfilled yet. I believe it is a change to bring justice to the planet, like flipping injustice for justice. And this is a great battle. Of course. Like, to just say there's a battle between good and evil, that's literally just stripping it down to bare bones. That is pretty much what it is. There's a battle between good and evil. And because we know good always wins, we also have to know that God uses Satan for his purpose. That's why the Bible says what the enemy meant for harm, God will use it for good. God has a way of using Satan, but also holding him back to a certain degree. Like it's like when you look at Job. Like, God knew who Job was. God knew Job, loved him. He knew the type of person Job was. He didn't doubt that Job would not, reject him. He knew he wouldn't, but he was proving a point to Satan. And so he does the same thing when it comes to how he allows the enemy to touch us to a certain degree. It's not to say that he don't love us or he's not protecting us, but there comes a time in God's judgment where God has to allow certain things to continually show Satan that he is not God. He will never be God. He will never out fight God or, conquer God in any way, even though Satan goes so hard thinking he can. Like, God allows Satan to only do so much and to go so far. It's like, even when you look at evil, there has to be some evil in the world in order for there to be a testing of humanity. You see what I'm saying? Because here's the reality. Before God created human beings, there was an existence. Evil was still present. Because if evil wasn't present, then how did the angels rebel against God? But they were the first test. They were the first simulation, if you will, where God wanted to test these angels and see if they could be trustworthy. And we saw Satan failed, and he was able to cause a third of the angels to reject God too. And so when you look at the fact that, we don't know how long existence was going, when it was just the angels. But at some point, he created mankind. And now we're in another simulation where when you look at the fact that here it is, you had a group of angels that were already in heaven, already had the privilege of being in heaven with God. And yet some of them, they weren't grateful for where they were. They wasn't appreciative for where they were. And so now you got mankind, like human beings like you and I, we're doing everything we can to get to heaven, but we're having to go through these different processes and these different testings for God to make sure that before he gives us access to heaven, he has to make sure that we're going to, we're going to remain loyal to him, that we won't reject him, that regardless of what we go through, we're going to always remain loyal to him. And that within itself shows how important it is for God to have family, to have people around him that he know really loves him, and not just have people around him that only loves him because of what he can do for them. Don't that sound familiar? Don't it feels a certain way when you are like dealing with certain people? You don't want people just hanging around you just to be hanging around you. You want to make sure these people really are for you. You want to make sure these people really are down for you, and they not just there just so they can have access to what you can offer them. It's the same thing. Like the Bible says he created us in his image and in his likeness. So when you have those attributes, understand it comes from God. Just like when you look at the attributes of people who live in the world, they have the same characteristics of Satan. They're narcissistic, they're liars, they are prideful. You know what I'm saying? Like those are his characteristics. But God just has us in these testing places to make sure that we are who we say we are. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. Like if you really love God, you're going to love him through the hurt. You're going to love him through the pain. You're going to love him when you're struggling. You're going to love him when you're getting blessings. You're going to love him when you are enjoying life. You're going to love him through the losses. Like you're going to remain loyal to him regardless of what you go through. And that's what he's looking for. He's looking for real people that will love him no matter what, that will have unconditional love for him the same way he has unconditional love for us. But yeah, I love y'all. I hope y'all have a blessed rest of the week. Like I said, y'all, I know it's a lot, but just try to stay positive, try to stay hopeful. This is not going to continue for too much longer. God is doing some things. Trust that, believe that, know that God is moving. There's only so much the enemy can do. And I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff is coming to an end. But we're just waiting for all of that to come to fruition. But just stay Stay in faith, y'all, because I'm telling y'all, I feel so much confidence in this, because again, God just keeps reiterating things to me pertaining to what he keeps saying, and he keeps showing me that things are about to turn around. I love y'all. Y'all stay in faith, stay in prayer. Most importantly, stay close to the Lord. Also, y'all, I kind of went AWOL with my second channel, Kingdom Living at Home. I am back posting videos again. So if y'all kind of fell off on that second channel, I have started putting more content out there. I'm going to try to be more consistent. I just kind of got burnt out, y'all. I'm not even going to lie. So I stopped posting, but I did not realize it had been 7 months since I put a video out over there. So I have been putting videos out over there. I've done some shorts. So please make sure y'all are subscribed to that second channel, Kingdom Living at Home. And yeah, I love y'all. Lord willing, if I receive anything else, I will definitely let you guys know. All right, you guys, be blessed. Bye.